It is September 17th, 2021. We're here already. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast, and I'm Alfred Konuwa, joined by Glenn Rubenstein and NYC Demon Diva Issa tonight to talk about SmackDown on Fox and to talk about AEW Rampage. Now, quick programming note, this is my last podcast for the next 2 weeks or so because I'm in move mode. And originally I was going to do next week.
Who authorized this?
Well, I'm looking around behind me. If I were to take down the screen, you would see boxes, and I cannot pack up my office until I'm done podcast. So I need to be able to pack up my office because I need to be able to store stuff in here just to get it out of the way. I'm in crunch. I'm going through things that I haven't opened in 20 years, boxes. And I don't know if you guys find this every time you go through storage. Remember when sitcoms used to have the clip show, the flashback episode? Like, oh, hey, remember that time you bought roller skates? And then they tell the story, the do-do-do-do-do. Like, that's what it's like every time I go through a box. I have a little memory attached to it. I think about it for a moment, then I move it into another box, and I move on.
All right, I love the fact that you're celebrating your last day with us for 2 weeks by being Alfred Konuwa. You get to be king for a day, and I salute you.
Big nasty.
Big nasty.
This bothers Alfred so much, by the way. No. This is just gnawing at him.
I think you never look. I'd like to say you never look better, but you know, maybe one or two times you look better. But this is top 3 Alfred Konuwa looks right here.
Absolutely iconic. So we're gonna get into the wrestling shows and talk about that. Sorry, apparently I have my wife's box cutter and I don't know where I put it, so I'm going to be in trouble lately. She's like, why didn't you return my box cutter? And I'm like, I don't know where your box cutter is. Hopefully I brought it back from storage. Figure that one out. So let's hop into the news and then we'll talk about the wrestling.
Hop into the news. Boy, do we ever have news. World War, what I call it, is hit. The heads are rolling. We have our first casualty of the Dark Side of the Ring documentary on the plane ride from hell, which if you didn't see it, it is, I really did enjoy in terms of, from a content standpoint, in terms of how it was put together. It was a very informing, eye-opening documentary, very poignant. And Tommy Dreamer has been suspended indefinitely by Impact Wrestling for comments he made. Just as kind of a recap, Dark Side of the Ring had a plane ride from hell documentary. It was very kind of dark, as you would imagine, but really went into kind of specific incidents and centered around Ric Flair's action on the plane ride from hell in 2002 when he allegedly cornered a stewardess. Tommy Dreamer was very cavalier about it. He really took Ric Flair's side and seemed to do a little victim blaming in his account of what happened, and he has since been punished by Impact Wrestling. He is suspended indefinitely. Ric Flair has also, in the course of some punishments, as he has been pulled from Car Shield commercials that you see when you're watching wrestling every week. They have paused that ad campaign. It is not likely he will be appearing on AEW. So a lot of fallout from this episode, which is the lowest rated episode they've ever done. But I really do recommend, yes, it was. I really do recommend that people go out there and watch it to get another perspective. Yeah. I will say that when I heard, we as wrestling fans, it's a little Stockholm syndrome when I watched this, because we have kind of like a loving memory of the plane ride from hell. Before this episode, even when the trailer came out, I tweeted out like, let's go. I can't wait to hear this story, because we talk about, oh, it was this crazy plane ride. They were doing drugs. It was a party. But when you really hear this story and have to see that a stewardess recount what happened allegedly to her, it's very heartbreaking. It's very poignant, and it's really an eye-opening documentary. So, Issa, I'll start with you with your thoughts of the plane ride from hell and the fallout since then.
Oh my God! So I usually let a couple of the Dark Side of the Ring tape on my DVR and sit down and binge watch it. You know, on a day that we don't have wrestling. And just looking into my timeline last night, I'm like, okay, I gotta jump on this episode like right now. This is going crazy. I had heard a couple of things about this plane ride from hell, and if you guys like really look into it and look into the lawsuit that was filed from the flight attendants to WWE, obviously, if you watch the show, you know they didn't go through all the way with the lawsuit. There was even worse things that were not talked about in this documentary. That being said, it was having the flight attendant there and hearing that perspective, because for so long we have heard it so many different ways, and it gets a shock a lot of people, like what you were saying, Glenn. You were just saying, you know, we laugh about it because we think about it in such a, oh my God, the plane ride from hell, that has to be a hell of a night. But it was very traumatizing for some of the people that were involved, and just hearing the condition that some of these men were in. And to me, the most shocking part is that Vince McMahon was sitting in first class, allowing all of this to happen and not even caring. Like, listen, it's a must watch episode. As far as Tommy Dreamer goes, I think he came off the worst, because that attitude of boys will be boys maybe 20 years ago, you could get away with that, but defending it today, that's not gonna fly.
I mean, it's crazy. And I don't know. I mean, I guess we experienced some of this, right? I mean, I remember growing up and there were things that were thought of as just a different context, right? That people would look back on and be like, oh, hey, it only took 30 years. It wasn't okay at the time, but now we all recognize that it wasn't okay. And it's crazy to me, Glenn, to your point, that we did always have this talked about is like, oh, this batshit crazy plane ride. And it was like, no, this was really messed up. These actions that took place. And I think it's good it's coming to light. It's good that it's being discussed. And, I think it's part of just this ongoing reckoning people have with recognizing years of bad behavior and a lot of things that were very much excused as humor. And it's not just limited to wrestling. I mean, this has been across. I mean, think about, people were talking about this today, like how we glamorized this rock star lifestyle for the better part of the last 50 years. And it's like there were victims of that behavior, and it was just sort of chalked up as like, well, that's the life. And it's like, no. So I think it's good that this is being put in context and people are talking about it and really having to take it seriously and not just as a boys will be boys attitude.
And this speaks to a systemic problem within professional wrestling. Wrestling is a very dark business. Dark side of the ring can have a shelf life for the end of time in terms of all the stories to be told. And it's not just of that era. We're a year removed from the speaking out movement, which is one of the darkest stories I've ever had to cover in terms of all the things that came out in terms of modern day wrestlers and what they were doing, or allegedly doing within the past couple of years and whatnot, all the stories that we saw on that front. So this is something that really speaks to a business that needs to be cleaned up, that is still in the process of being cleaned up, and there's a lot of skeletons in the pro wrestling closet that come out of light.
Do you have a fear that now this show is going to get like blackballed because of all the things that is coming up, and now it's affecting some of the performers, and maybe people might not be willing to speak with them anymore or give them any kind of information just because they might be digging too hard? Because I feel like there's still that mentality of, oh, we got to protect our own, right? So now that the show's coming out with these kind of things, doesn't that make you worry for the show getting, kind of like a bad reputation within the wrestlers themselves?
Yeah, well, that's a good point, Issa. We did see some of that in this episode. There were a lot of accounts where they were talking about somebody, and whether it was Brock Lesnar, Ric Flair, they had to constantly put on there they were not reachable for comment. They refused to comment. And there's a lot of people who just wanted nothing to do with this. X-Pac was a part of this documentary. They used an audio. So they're always going to be able to get around that. But I don't think that's going to be something that's going to hinder Dark Side of the Ring. It just kind of depends on what the backlash is. If the backlash gets so bad to where WWE is now having to apologize and do community service or change the way they do it, I think WWE might work to kill the show. But I think if that was in the cards, WWE would have worked to kill the show a long time ago. I think the fact that it's existed for 3 seasons means that Dark Side of the Ring has a lot of stories to tell, and some of these wrestlers just can't help themselves. Wrestlers, you sit them down and ask them about to tell stories, they're just going to do it, So I think that there's going to be a shelf life for this show.
And I think that's part of it too. And the Tommy Dreamer thing kind of speaks to that, right? It's like to lack the clarity and recognition now, regardless of your actions then, and to like show no evolution as a person, not that you're making excuses for past behavior, but to show no evolution or context for the present. I mean, that's what just really came across as tone deaf.
And I will say, I don't think that Tommy Dreamer is not an empathetic person. I just think this is Tommy Dreamer prioritizing the business of wrestling, that old school mentality, Alfred, that you were just talking about in terms of protecting the business. And he was prioritizing that mentality because he's so used to doing it. He's been in the business for so long. He's been at every level of this business. He's using that mentality. And I do think that now he's going to realize the error of his ways. I fully expect if and when he returns to the public eye, he's going to have thought this through and have an apology ready or whatever he needs to do to hopefully get another perspective on something like this. But in terms of it, I think some of these wrestlers might be scared now in terms of going and coming forward and just using the perspective because of stuff like this in terms of backlash, to your point, Issa.
I love that you mentioned the perspective because I even tweeted out a clip from when Brock Lesnar was doing his press tour for UFC 200. He was interviewed and asked about this. And Brock himself talks about how he doesn't remember 2 years of his entire career because he was so high on Vicodin and vodka. So you also have to look at it at the perspective that some of these men understood, that it was wrong and got out of it and did the smart thing that they needed to do. So a lot of it, Kurt Hennig, for example, I know Brock says they got into a scuffle. It didn't sound like it last night, right? But, he ended up passing away so soon after everything, so of an overdose. So you also have to realize that these guys were literally completely messed up throughout an entire era of wrestling that a lot of people love and hold so near. But your heroes, they might have not been the greatest of people back then.
No, I feel like at a bare minimum, there should be a Beastie Boys defense that people should put where they say, this is who I was. This is what I perpetuated at the time. I recognize that. I mean, that's the bare minimum. I feel like as a human, that should be the baseline for how you contextualize these things. And I just think that, we didn't see a lot of that last night.
Right.
Yeah. And that's something that Brock talked about where he was like, that's how I realized this full-time wasn't for me, and that's why he would only perform part-time because that's how he fell into a deep hole of addiction. So, I mean, some people learn from it, and I feel like it's just a matter of taking it on a case-by-case basis and seeing where are these people at today. Because there's some people that, for example, when the Ric Flair thing happened, I'm like, well, I don't think that's the first time, and I don't think it's stopped happening. And you know what I mean? And there's some people that you were just not shocked to hear that was their behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. And, I hope everybody involved learns from this. And, at the risk of getting heat, Tommy is one of the good guys in professional wrestling. He's had a very, very bad moment. Watching him was very uncomfortable in this. I do not stand by a lot of what he said, but he's one of the good people in pro wrestling who I think is going to learn from this. And I'm not jumping to pile on to Tommy Dreamer. I just hope he learns. That's always the case with people who get themselves in this situation.
Even part of it, if I knew, he knew he was going into an interview about this. He could have chosen his words. And again, at the bare minimum, he could have prepared a way to frame this in a way that wouldn't have had the reaction. But it was just crazy, watching it, and you really feel for the women affected and the one woman that was telling her story. And for me, it was just, to go from that moment to Tommy's sort of dismissive at that, for me, it was just F this guy.
Looks like we got some super chats there.
Yeah, we do. Stellar Justin Lopez, 2.0, $1.99. Guess Andrade is going to have to hire Chavo back.
I mean,
that's right. Who knows? It'd be very interesting to see if this blows up. Listen, Ric Flair is a made man. That was one of the more kind of chilling things that was said. That admission by Jim Ross that Ric Flair is a made man. That it will apply forever. Ric Flair might be able to Ric Flair his way out of this. And one of the reasons we looked at, and this is just a dark admission, one of the reasons we looked at this so quote unquote lovingly with Ric Flair, one of the reasons I think he got, a free pass here, not only the made man thing, but because what I heard for years is, he's Nate. He's Nate. That's what he does. That's what we expect from Ric Flair. Limousine ride and jet flying. So you really don't look at it as this really disgusting, pervy thing. You look at it as a guy doing his character, which is, we all realize how wrong that was.
Right.
Not to really go into this, but if you want to see the most extreme example of this, look at Ron Jeremy and what's happening right now. Right. And I admittedly, in someone, we've told stories on this podcast. Look at Sublime's love of him. Look at how media, and it was he's this creepy, pervy guy. And it was well, yeah, all of that wasn't feel good. I don't know. I think it's very interesting how people compartmentalize things.
The ESPN 30-for-30, I just saw someone mentioning in the chat that Ric Flair 30-for-30 was very, very telling.
Yeah. And didn't WWE on their animated show make light of this?
With a cartoon,
they made light of it.
I gotta go back and watch that, just knowing how this is looking at a cartoon. Can you imagine Bill Cosby in a cartoon and then Cosby went in my hotel room?
I have to admit, as someone who spends a lot of time watching 80s commercial vault on YouTube, every Bill Cosby commercial is just now in retrospect very
right.
I'm sure there's a way you can put that with the Jello pudding.
Yeah, everything. He very much wants you to ingest things in every commercial, something he's selling, even picture pages. He had an agenda. Okay, Stellar Justin Lopez 2.0 499. RVD's quote, "Stick with me. Wrestlers, the freaks, don't meet your heroes." I mean, but musicians, actors, like I was just thinking about this. We're talking about this, like Wolf of Wall Street, great example. Like a lot of that was painted as like, oh, good-hearted times with drugs and sex. I don't know. I think there's a lot of effed up people in the world that behave very badly. Not all of it's criminal.
Especially when they get money and fame.
Yeah.
I think that's the common denominator to a lot of this is when you get money and fame and alcohol, you become a souped up version of maybe the worst parts of what you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Again, to quote that Brock Lesnar interview that I was talking about earlier, he says, you get rich, you get famous, you're 24 years old,
yes,
you're dumb. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jody Sean Jenkins, Canadian $5, saying, "I agree with Alfred Reed Tommy." I think that's Glenn, you mean. Don't fall into the trap, reading more into his comments, listen to what he did say, not what he didn't say. I'm surprised. I mean, like, has he released a statement yet?
Oh, no. We haven't. Not that I know. Maybe something will happen while we're on the show, but I think it'll be a while before. I know he has denied this, and they did mention that on the documentary that he has denied these claims, but we'll see how this shakes out. Some AEW news on a little brighter note in terms of AEW. The AEW Dynamite ratings have come out, ladies and gentlemen. 1.175 million for AEW Dynamite. What's important, what everybody wants, the T. AEW Dynamite in 18 to 49, 574,000 viewers. That makes it the second week in a row. It beat Raw in 18 to 49. Raw did 556,000 viewers. Big picture here, both shows were down. Double digits. Of course, Raw went head-to-head with Monday Night Football. But this is the second week in a row that AEW has beaten Raw in 18 to 49, and we are now staring at a situation where next week, AEW's biggest show ever in front of its biggest crowd, NYC. It's going to be in Arthur Ashe Stadium. And it very well likely, with WWE going head-to-head against the Green Bay Packers, God's team, and by God, I mean me, God's team is going to be on TV next week, and WWE's going head-to-head with the Green Bay Packers. So it's very likely that WWE loses to AEW for the third week in a row. What do you think about these developments, and what do you think about AEW? Do you think it goes 0-3 in the past 3 weeks against AEW, Alfred?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's very interesting that they're going to do 4 hours of programming next week. I think, Wednesday will probably do very, very well. Next week is going to be a bit of a test of audience, right? To see. I mean, I want them to succeed, but at the same time, you guys have to be having the same thought, right? Which is like Friday can't do too well because I'm not watching 4 hours of wrestling on Fridays going forward. Yeah,
but Friday being pre-taped at 10 p.m. at night is hurting it. It's hurting it because like a lot of people just already know what's going to happen, what matches you're going to see.
Yeah.
I still think Wednesday is their focus and Fridays they're just testing it out right now, but just to add that in there, I think that because some of the Rampage that were live also didn't do well, so maybe it is the time spot.
Yeah. We'll see.
I'm excited to see what they do next week. I am. I think that the show is stacked. They're doing a good job at hyping it up and putting the card to live up to the expectation. But Raw, I thought Raw was going to at least lose 10% of their audience just because of Monday Night Football, which is why I questioned the cash-in. Not mad about it. I'm excited that it happened, but I question why do it on this particular Monday when you know your audience is going to drop. So let's see how they do next week. But Raw has some work to do because I think AEW might have their best week next week.
And I question it too, Issa, because not only Monday Night Football, but it was week 1 of Monday Night Football, which year after year just destroys Raw and viewership head-to-head. It was also very, very good. Not that they could have anticipated this, but it was an excellent game between the Ravens and the Raiders in terms of entertainment standpoint, where it went into overtime. So this thing was definitely, in terms of having the Big E cash in, made you think, like, what would they have done if they didn't have all this stuff on? This might have been the lowest number ever.
Yeah, I still think, and it might be me and my conspiracies, that this is a USA Network wanting them to live up to what they're giving Fox and not anything to do with ratings. Just the networks wanted to be treated equally as far as, action, just because that SmackDown was so stacked last week.
Yeah. Antoine Fair, 0-3 Raw, 1.6 in 1849 doesn't declare you the winner.
And let's be clear about what's going on here. Like, it's great that AEW is competitive with WWE, but this is a product of the wrestling audience shrinking. This is WWE's audience getting so small that AEW now has a fighting chance. This is very similar to the dynamic of Raw losing these ratings of how the Money in the Bank contract was cashed in to where Bobby Lashley's hopping around on one leg and Big E is able to take advantage of it. WWE is Bobby Lashley hopping around on one leg going up against the NFL, and Big E is the AEW able to cash in on that. So that's what's happening. This is not the Monday Night War. This is a Monday Night Rumble.
I talked about this last Friday when both of you were out with TK, who was subbing, and we were talking about it's like now you could have the #1 selling album in the country if you sell like 10,000 records, digital and physical. It used to 10,000 records in a week used to not even get you in the top 200 20 years ago, album sales wise. You know?
Yeah.
It's just everything's
you could
changed.
be a top star and nobody knows who you are because of the way that this digital programming moves things around. Like it's crazy. The way that we consume content today is very weird to grasp what's going on. But I do remember covering wrestling just a few years ago when we thought Raw dropping to 3 million was a huge drop, and to see where it's at right now is insane to me.
Well, I'll tell you, Antoine, thank you for complimenting Glenn on his tan with your super chat. But let's talk about bright news, which is, Tuesday night on this very podcast, we had the biggest live audience we've ever had for NXT coverage. And that's because the greatest new superstar in WWE, Tony D'Angelo, 100%. Debuted on Tuesday. His vignette is coming soon. And we got to talk about this brighter news, as Jenna Ness is pointing out. I feel like I prompted this tonight because I retweeted him under a shoot name. Jenna Ness, 499, saying in brighter news, Tony D'Angelo has over 40K views on YouTube, and he just changed his name on Twitter. So now you can go and follow Tony D, who I believe, what's it up to now? So what's the Tony D'Angelo follower count?
40. It was 40 before we went
it was 40
here.
earlier.
40
well, I
followers.
Retweeted. He's at 56 now. So
wow.
Everybody, we on this podcast, we stand Tony D'Angelo, and everybody go to Twitter, give him a follow. Tony D'Angelo, WWE.
Yes. I ran the analytics, and they came back on Tuesday. 102% of our viewership was because of Tony D'Angelo. That is a fact. So,
1,000%.
102%. I didn't even know that was possible.
I ran the emoji analytics, and that equals to the 100 emoji.
Let's get him up to 100 followers by the end of this podcast. Let's
please, guys, go follow Tony D'Angelo on Twitter.
Future WWE champion Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah, and his we sent you that we're his biggest stands.
His background did come to light. So Joey Ariola, NCAA collegiate wrestler. I mean, this guy's got some serious athleticism. Go check out his videos online. I think he's definitely gonna be able to go in the ring, and we'll see. We'll see where this. I'm gonna miss 2 weeks of Tony D'Angelo talk.
I don't know how you're gonna be able to do it.
Please don't let him. Powers that be in NXT. Please do not debut him till I am back in October on this podcast.
Oh man, he'll be.
But if they only play video. If they only show video packages, you might miss more than the debut. I'm
gonna watch. I'm gonna be on social media. I'm gonna be watching those. I mean, we're definitely gonna be paying attention to that. Okay, we got like 2 more quick news stories. Let's let's
just do one more. There was one about Andrew Yang. We could maybe do that at another time. But let's. There's a story that came out in the Wrestling Observer newsletter about AEW's estimated quote-unquote market value, where a Stanford sports business professor, according to Dave Meltzer, has reportedly put a market value of $400 million on AEW. Now, somebody who writes for Forbes, this is not something that is concrete. This is not sourced. There's no nuts. There's no bolts. This came up earlier this morning in terms of us pursuing this. This is Dave Meltzer having a conversation with a guy he knows. And this is Dave Meltzer going out of his way to create a positive narrative for AEW, which he's fantastic at doing. So I wouldn't be surprised if AEW is worth in the neighborhood, given their TV deal, given the fact that they're signing all these wrestlers and they are showing growth. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in that neighborhood. But the stories about AEW's worth, take for now, it's along the same lines as, hey, I talked to my son and he doesn't know who Bad Bunny is, so take it with that grain of salt. But it appears that AEW estimated from a professor in Stanford around $400 million. What would you guys value AEW?
I'm not paying a penny more than $3.50. I mean,
million or $3.50.
Oh, million. I mean, I like a bargain, but I think this is kind of like getting a Zestimate on your house. Like, this is, I mean, you're not going to get, this is not the hard money offer you're going to walk away from.
Dave Zillow Meltzer.
Yes.
Hey, get it how you live, go ahead, Isa.
No, I was just going to ask you, since you are a Forbes expert, how much do you think Tony D'Angelo is worth?
Alfred Konuwa is the expert here, but Tony D'Angelo, we actually tried in our morning meeting to put a valuation on Tony D'Angelo, and it completely broke all of our scales. There's no number high enough to value Tony D'Angelo. I've never seen this problem before.
Because the sanitation business is highly profitable.
Sanitation, construction. I mean, the legitimate business side of it is one thing, but they're moving money for the Vatican. I mean, they got connections. It's a whole thing, I only say that because I watched Godfather 3 again recently. And man, if you ever wanted a convoluted plot involving the Vatican, Godfather 3 is your movie. So
that's your news. And you don't have to excuse me if I seem a little distracted. A very special episode of Big Brother is airing tonight. Big Brother features a cookout. They're the first all-black alliance.
Yo, is that not epic? Oh my God.
Great show. I love it. Glenn, on day one of Big Brother, 6 black people in the house, most black people they've ever had, got together on day one. They said, let's stick together. And they Harriet Tubman their way through this game. And now it's down to the final 4. We're going to get our first black winner of Big Brother. And here's my ratings prediction for tonight. I predict that Black Big Brother beats both AEW and SmackDown combined. That's my prediction.
Agree. I'm a little sad that Tiffany left, though. Tiffany was the brains behind the operation, and they sent her out first. Like, what?
She shouldn't have won that head. I know what she was doing, but she should have at least cleared it with them. Because I thought it was going to be her and X in the finals, but we'll get it.
Me too. We can have a whole show talking about Big Brother.
Always go off on these tangents, Glenn, and don't want to talk about wrestling. It's like it's not your priority.
It was exciting. It was exciting, Glenn. I saw when they accomplished what they came in, because a couple of times they were gonna turn on each other. I was like, this is historic and this is awesome, and I wanted to have a shot and celebrate it.
2 times I've ever almost cried watching. 3 times I've ever almost cried watching TV. When Brett Favre had that great 399-yard game after his dad died. When I was watching Inside Out, and the guy, something happened where I don't want to spoil it, but something happened in Inside Out where the guy flies off the motorcycle and disappears. I almost cried to it. And then when the cookout made the final 6, it was very emotional. I did not cry, okay, but I would.
It was emotional.
Yeah, it was a very great moment.
Yeah,
I cry at everything. I can go on Wikipedia and read the synopsis of a movie, and I'm in tears.
Did you cry during the Tony D'Angelo promo? Be honest.
Tears of joy, tears of disbelief.
Your hero is finally here.
I think sometimes I laugh so hard that I end up crying. Like, I have a very sympathetic. What's the word for it? Sympathetic. Whatever that gland is. The tear ducts. I have sympathetic tear ducts.
That's a good thing. I wish
I
cried more.
Oh, it's on command. But if I think enough, I can. Music also does it quite a bit. Antoine Fair saying, "Geez, Glenn, stay on topic." Okay, what do we want to cover first tonight? Do we want to knock out Rampage? Which one's going to go faster tonight? I think we should. I
mean, Rampage will definitely go faster. What do you think? I'll leave it up to you, Alfred. You get the choice. It's your last.
Let's do Rampage tonight. We normally do SmackDown. Let's do Rampage and talk about the opening with the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Lucha Brothers versus the Butcher and the Blade. Championship match. Glenn, what'd you think of this? Okay, we got to change this. I can't keep this going because I've got.
Keep it going. No, come on.
Okay, we're keep it going. Okay, we're gonna try and get through this. Okay.
I liked it. It was a fine opening match. I think it struggled because nobody in the building bought that Butcher and Blade could win this match, which is tough because Butcher and Blade are actually very good, very solid tag team. And this wasn't the best, especially coming off such a great match for the Lucha Bros. It was kind of on the weaker side of the matches that they've had, but I had no problem with it. I thought there was a little too much going on. I think they're really overdoing the pulling off the mask thing. I think that's something that gets a lot of heat because it's so sacrilegious. But if you're doing it all the time, which they do, and this is just 2 days removed from doing the face paint gimmick with Sting and Darby Allin, like Tony Khan, you're starting to realize some of the stuff that he loves doing. And one of them that is a staple of Tony Khan is pulling off the mask, wiping off the face paint. He really loved that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was at the tapings on Wednesday, so it was kind of harsh to watch this episode tonight. I was like, damn, I kind of already know what's going to happen. But I just feel like there's so many great tag teams, so I'm ready to see the Lucha Brothers like defend these titles against different tag teams. I'm just saying the Butcher and the Blade, it was just not what I was expecting their first title defense to be. But listen, they always put on a great match, so it's enjoyable to watch.
It was good. Private Party ran out after the Lucha Brothers won, beat down on the tag champs.
That'll be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah. What do you think, Issa, of this promo between Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson? And oh my God, did they say Bryan Danielson enough? They're really trying to get us to switch our habits, to stop calling him Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, it's tough.
I love the promo. The fact that it's a non-title match just makes me question what's going to happen here, because I appreciate that AEW doesn't have their champions, lose. So it makes me really go into what's going to happen. Shout out to Daniel Bryan for not changing his shirt in 3 weeks now. It's just a plain white tee. Like, he is still the planet's champ, man.
Yeah, I love it.
It's exciting, and to me, it just still doesn't feel like the wrestling nerd in me doesn't feel like it's real life. Like, I'm about to watch Kenny Omega and Bryan like go at it. Like, it just doesn't click that this is really happening. It's awesome.
And I really think they need a gun to have like as good a match as they like. If the ceiling for this is the greatest match ever, match of the year, whatever, I don't like the idea, and I've never subscribed to the theory of, well, they got to hold back because if there's a rematch, it's like you just go guns blazing. This is 19,000 people in your biggest show ever. They got to go guns blazing. I'm really having my expectations high for this match and hope they deliver.
Do you think Bryan wins this, or do you think all the Elite comes out, beats him up, and that's how we set up him as the underdog for war, and then he goes through as much of the Elite as possible in a build-up to a championship match?
Yeah, I think that's what will happen.
Yeah, that would be very New Japan. Like, I would not be opposed to Kenny Omega, who's your champion, who's already lost a non-title match, beating Daniel Bryan, and then the story is Daniel Bryan has to go to the back of the line and go through the Elite to get to Kenny Omega.
Or it goes into a time draw. Let them wrestle freaking good that it goes into a time draw and nobody wins, because that would be chef kiss.
I have no problem with that.
I think Bryan Danielson, his greatest fantasy on earth isn't about winning the lottery. It's nothing of a sexual nature. His greatest fantasy on earth is to have a match that's so long it goes to a time draw. They're like, we literally have to stop this. It cannot go on any longer.
Antoine Fair, the answer to this question is absolutely. Alfred,
there you go.
You're invited anytime.
Awesome.
You're back from vacation.
Yes. Oh my God, I've got so much packing left to do.
Alfred's house in Vegas. That's
so much. I have like 30 bottles of unopened hot sauce I have to figure out how to transport because I've had this Hot One subscription forever, and I just went on this buying frenzy, and I can't figure out the best way to do this without breaking them. Like, it's a very challenging conundrum. It's Z, $5. Do you all see AEW eventually get to a point where they push out day one talent to make room for all the WWE talent and friends coming over? AEW is WWE 2.0.
You better not. You're saying push them out, like get rid of them and favorite them.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Darby.
Maybe not the beginning of the end, but that would it would be a tough. AEW has such a special, I think, relationship with its fan base. The fan base is very, very loyal to AEW, that I think they have to play a balancing act between being perceived as somebody trying to be like WWE and somebody doing their own thing. I think a lot of these fans really support these AEW homegrown talents, and as long as there's a balance, I have no problem with the Malachi Blacks of the world. My favorite people in AEW right now are the former WWE stars, whether it's Malachi Black or Miro, but they also have very strong acts who are built by AEW. So as long as there's a mixture like that, that would be fine, but they should not push out their homegrown talent.
And you also have to remember that Daniel Bryan's first promo coming into AEW was to put the homegrown talent over, the people that believed in AEW since day one. Those were his very first words. So I feel like these WWE guys are coming in but not stepping their boundaries and making sure that these guys get their credit. And look at how they're booking their matches. It's like somebody that you know against somebody that you should know. They're doing a smart job right now. We'll see if they can keep up with it.
I love that. Somebody you know versus somebody you should know.
Well, great. To that point, Stellar Justin Lopez 2.0, $4.99, saying he was there on Wednesday, but when he heard Butcher and the Blade, he was like, I got to catch the train back to Brooklyn.
Okay, but you know what? He got to the train and then he had to wait 30 minutes for the train to arrive, so he could have watched the freaking match anyway.
I have left so many concerts before the encore. I left WrestleMania after Triple H and Roman's entrance. Like, I'm a big beat the traffic guy.
Wow.
You know? I mean, the entrance is sometimes all you need to see.
Well, you really didn't miss much for that match, so
yeah. I watched it in an Uber on my phone on the network.
Excuse me, Roman Reigns speared Stephanie McMahon. That's like every woman's fantasy, and she got to live it. So come on.
The year before was much better. Roman and Brock at WrestleMania 31 was one of the best live matches I've ever seen.
That was so good, so good.
So, Anna Jay versus the Bunny. Glenn, what'd you think?
It was fine. It was just a decent match. I feel like the crowd was really with this because they haven't done too much, explaining the conflict here. Anna Jay looked fine because she's back from injury, but it was okay.
Issa?
Yeah, same. I thought it was fine. Sometimes I forget that Anna Jay has barely wrestled in front of a live crowd, and she's kind of like still learning because we've seen her, but it was during, the empty arena era. I did notice that she was selling the shoulder that wasn't taped up.
Yeah.
And that was distracting me a lot because they were talking about her shoulder injury, but she was selling the shoulder that wasn't injured. So I couldn't stop focusing on that. But I think they're gonna have, it is leading towards a tag match between. I love Anna Jay and Tay Conti, and I think the Bunny and Penelope Ford. It should be fun that we got 2 women's segments, and that in AEW world is a record. So I'll take it.
Quick update. In the Tony D'Angelo WWE follower account, he is up to 69 followers.
Never changed. Nobody follow him. He's staying here forever. Nobody else follow him. 69 is a good number.
We will update you throughout the show, but go to Tony D'Angelo WWE and make it happen, folks. It's Tony.
For 2 years, I only had 69 people that I was following, and if I wanted to follow somebody new, I'll get rid of somebody else. And Mojo Rawley started following me because that's his favorite number, and we really made a connection over 69. It's a very beautiful friendship that we've built, a friendship over the number 69. Eventually, I reached out and started following more people, but a great number of followers to have. 69.
I forged a connection with Mojo over Zubas.
I love it.
I like just DMing him and be like, dude, these are the best pants ever. He's like, I know, right? And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, that's the exchanges I've had with Mojo Rawley over the years.
I have a quick Mojo Rawley story. I was at so on June 9th, it was 6/9, all right? I was at the ice cream dispensary getting some ice cream, some lemon diesel ice cream, sour diesel ice cream. And at 6:09, I got a text from Mojo Rawley about 69 days. So it was just ridiculous. And the number for the ice cream, the price I paid was $69 for the ice cream that I got that day. It's crazy.
Wow, that ice cream better be amazing.
Amazing ice cream. I just, have you ever watched the Discovery Channel while you're eating ice cream? It's amazing.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I watched All Out eating ice cream. It was the best.
I have a tendency to eat too much ice cream when I'm by myself, and then it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well at all. And the new ice cream is much, much stronger than the ice cream we grew up with.
Yeah, it is way stronger,
yeah.
way more potent.
When you were a kid,
Sacramento, it's really good.
Yeah, and when you were a kid, you used to just like eat a pint. So sometimes you just open the whole container Neapolitan and just have at it, go to town yourself. Now it's like you get a cone and you're just like, oh my god,
oh yeah,
I gotta need to sit down.
Need one scoop.
Yeah, seriously. Yep. Sam Austin saying the crowd won't be as hot on a Wednesday, but do you think AEW mics up the crowd lower on Rampage? The level makes it feel kind of canned.
I don't know how it came off on television, but Prudential was loud. It was sold out, and that has to be one of their largest audiences as well. Prudential is a full-size arena, and they sold it out. I think Wednesday, I cannot wait to hear what it sounds like. I do have a fear that the sound is going to travel off because of the way that Arthur Ashe is built. It might not translate as good on TV, but we'll see. I think it's going to be very, very loud.
So I admit I was in the midst of figuring out my strategy for packing hot sauce, and I wish that was a euphemism for something. When this happened, what was the thing with Matt Hardy and the Orange Cassidy looking guy in the audience and bringing him in the ring and shaving his head? Like, I saw that, but what was who was that? Was that?
It was just a fan. And Matt Hardy was very funny in this segment, I thought, but it was a fan who Matt Hardy accosted and shaved his head to build to Matt Hardy versus Orange Cassidy. And
it could be a real, I mean, it was a plant, though. obviously.
Oh yeah,
I was just a fan as a fan.
Yeah. Oh my God, you thought the Dark Side of the Ring backlash was bad. You think that's a real fan. We'll never see Matt Hardy again.
The shaving incident.
Yeah. Oh man.
Hey, Brandy was, cutting hair for a long time, so that'll get over it, right? Did we ever find out what that was? I said she was going to make like a weave of many colors out of like all the
couple of gimmicks that she just, dropped cold, or they just went another direction. She was with Awesome Kong for a couple of seconds.
Interesting. Maybe on Roads to the Top, we'll get the story.
Sure. Hopefully.
Maybe.
Find all that. So Britt Baker and Ruby Soho came face to face tonight.
Oh my God.
Let's go.
So the match is happening.
We both just like freaked out over this.
I'm surprised they're hot-shotting this so quick. Okay, so one, I checked. Rancid doesn't have a tour date next Wednesday. They got to be there.
Oh my God. They have to. They have to.
Right?
Yeah.
But do you think this is going to be like genuine championship match? No shenanigans?
Yeah.
There will be shenanigans because Rebel will be ringside. So there's going to be some shenanigans. I think that's how they're going to get out of beating Ruby Soho. She's going to, there's going to be outside interference that she can't overcome. But I love the idea of a live entrance because these fans are really starting to lean into this music, and that's the glory of a hot crowd. When Chicago wrestling is, especially with live crowds, is a copycat business. So when people see like a hot crowd singing along to a song, everybody's going to want to do it. Just like they did it on the boat for Jericho. Now everybody does it. And the same thing's happening with Ruby Soho.
They need to edit that better. You cannot start with the chorus. I have the stems to that song because it was in like a Rock Band game or something. So I was messing around with it, and I know some people in AEW, and I was like, guys, this is easy. But apparently they like Rancid gave them the tapes. It's just on Tony to authorize like a new edit of it. Because starting with the chorus, like it needs to build. It's too abrupt when the music hits and she comes right in.
I haven't been able to get that song out of my head since since before she debuted it, because she had it on her video packages that she was putting together. But oh my God, I absolutely love that song. And this segment was fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, all of them. My God, these girls came out swinging, and this is how you build a feud with 1 week time to build it. Everything they said to each other was absolutely perfect. Britt Baker does not mess around, man. When she was like, "Welcome to TV time," I was like, yo, come on, she's already there. Stop. You just grabbed the mic.
That was my favorite one too. I don't think it got what it deserved. And she just like opened like, "Welcome to TV time."
Yeah. I was like, Britt Baker is so good. I'm glad that they took their time with her, because I remember she was the first woman announced in AEW, and I always thought she looked the part, so I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't put the title on her, and I'm glad they waited as long as they did, because they allowed her to grow into what she is today. But at the same time, Ruby came out there and just stood toe-to-toe with her, went at it with her on the mic. I mean, this is everything, and I do feel that they're rushing it a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Usually with the Casino Battle Royal winners, they end up wrestling for the title in a show. Jungle Boy had it that way. They don't wait until the pay-per-view. I love seeing Ruby being able to just keep up with Britt Baker, who's probably the most over female right now. So it was chef kiss perfection. It was an awesome segment.
Do you think they're going to give Ruby the win in front of that audience? Because
no.
Really?
I don't think so. You never know what could happen. They could do anything, but I think it's too early to beat Britt Baker, and I do think Britt wins this match.
Yeah, maybe we talked to this before. Maybe like Thunder Rosa, maybe somebody costs her the match, and then Ruby gets her own. I mean, look, if what happens with this, if Ruby does not get the championship, but she gets like a TV time women's feud aside from the championship, that will be groundbreaking, a huge win. If it becomes a big storyline in AEW, she's a top female star, and she doesn't have to do this over the belt.
Yeah, and this was a good example of using reality into a storyline, because Ruby had that line, said, "You're just like every other girl where you're entitled and you're banging some dude in the back," and then Britt Baker clapped right back and said, "You got fired." It just felt so disrespectful on both fronts to hear them say that to each other's face. I loved it.
Why didn't Britt, when she hit her with that, why didn't she be like, how do you think he got his job here? Because I'm the one with the job.
Now you're kind of burying Adam Cole, who's like, if he's not like the most over guy on the show. So I don't know if you want to do him like that.
Yeah. That would have been a Mike Kanellis moment.
Yeah,
that storytelling really quick in that when Britt Baker got in the ring, I don't know if you guys noticed, she gave Tony Schiavone a hug, and the crowd kind of groaned like, oh, because they know that Adam Cole is not a fan of this relationship. So there's like they're still telling that story between whatever Adam Cole's gonna eventually do to Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, it's not gonna be pretty, but I love that you got fire line. Run away, no, you got fire. I was like, listen, and Ruby saying, yeah, it led me right here, so it was the best thing that happened to me. I just absolutely loved it. I do wish, if this is the kind of promos that they're gonna give us, that this ends up being more than a one-off match, and we can, kind of like build a little bit of a program between the two of them, because that was a lot of fun, and it's amazing how underutilized Ruby Soho was in WWE, because we never saw this side of her in the years that she was there.
Oh, absolutely. It was very good. And then the title match, title versus car, Miro's TNT Championship versus Fuego del Sol's reasonably priced new car. Fuego lost the car. Why isn't, Fuego clearly took his name from the Menudo song. Like, why isn't he entering to that? Tony Khan could shell out all these other dollars. Sure. Like, get some Menudo. No,
get some wins. You don't get a song unless you're gonna win something. Like, this guy just enjoys his pain. He's a masochist, man. He's like, I want to fight Miro again. I'm like, why?
Yeah, it did kind of like, okay, so this was the launch pad though for Sammy is gonna face Miro next. So I guess it kind of makes sense, right? But with Fuego, he's very tertiary to this feud. And Sammy could win.
Yeah, I think Sammy will probably be one of the people that I will go like, "Ooh, are they going to pull the trigger on this?" Against Miro. But I will say, as far as Fuego goes, I get it. It's Rampage, it's 1 hour, it's pre-tape, but it's just like, come on, like there's such thing as a babyface, and there's such thing as just being straight up stupid, and that's how I felt. Everybody, even in the building, felt like, because Tony Khan came out earlier before Dynamite got on the air, and he just said that Miro was defending the title for Rampage, so everybody gets hyped, we think, and then when they finally announced it was Fuego, everybody was like, oh. Nobody thought he had a chance, but if it leads to Sammy and Miro, I'm here for that. I think that's gonna be a great feud.
Just like AEW broke its stip for their last match, I was kind of hoping Tony Khan would come out after and say, you know what, Fuego, we got you another car. That would be great. We got you a Subaru, buddy. But I will say, this feud has reminded me, even though Fuego hasn't beaten Miro, there was a famous feud between the 1-2-3 Kid, Sean Waltman, and Razor Ramon, where they eventually had a match for $10,000, and 1-2-3 Kid just ended up stealing it and running out with the $10,000. So I hope that happens, that eventually, like, Fuego del Sol just steals the car and drives it away and takes it back.
Yeah, there you go. Joke's on you, it's not paid for. Tim Robbins, $4.99 saying, off topic completely, but you guys' thoughts on Danhausen in AEW? I think it'd be awesome. Danhausen, there's a few of these guys, right? Like Dalton Castle, like there's a few talents that are names right now that haven't really been snapped up right with promotions. I don't know. I'm interested. I feel like Danhausen's had a hell of a year. His name keeps getting mentioned more and more. I'm surprised he hasn't been signed by a promotion.
Me too. A lot of buzz for him. Has he competed on Dark before? I think I feel like I've seen him on Dark.
Possibly, but I think he will be a great fit. But they can't scoop up everybody, and that's the thing. They're getting a little bloated, so they got to slow down on their acquisitions.
And Impact, Ring of Honor, MLW, NWA, they all need these talents.
Yeah,
man, how do people find the time? Could you imagine each week watching everything that we watch, and then on top of that, like following Impact, Ring of Honor, NWA, MLW?
Next week between WWE and AEW alone, it's 11 hours of professional wrestling we are going to endure.
It's a lot. That's why I watch like some recaps about Impacts, and sometimes I'm seeing them, they're putting on great shows, but I'm like, I can't do it on Thursdays. I just can't. It's too much right now.
It is too much. Let's hop into SmackDown tonight, Knoxville, Tennessee, and we open with the Bloodline coming to the ring. Issa, what'd you think of this promo?
I thought it was great. I really been liking what they've been doing. I love the fact that they're talking about how multiple people are coming after Roman Reigns. I will like for somebody to establish an official acknowledgement way. Do we do a wave? Do we lift the finger up like he's been doing at his matches? Like there should be an official way that you can let him know that you're acknowledging him. I think that would be amazing. Also, the shirt in white. I don't know. Roman Reigns is a vision in white. That's it.
I thought it was a fun promo. I liked Paul Heyman's promo because he had this moment where he goes, "I'm very intimately involved with Brock Lesnar" in a completely professional way. Like that was Paul Heyman's way.
Did you see my reaction to that? Because I have been obsessed with the new picture of Brock. Did you see the new rendering they did for Brock? Yo, he looks thick. So I keep calling him Thick Boy Brock. And I was like, oh, so you know about Thick Boy Brock. As soon as he says intimately, I was like, oh, he knows all about Thick Boy Brock. Sorry, this is inappropriate. But here over here is midnight. So I can talk inappropriately if I want.
True. And then interrupted by new WWE champion Big E and Finn Balor.
Hell yeah.
Good energy,
Listen,
but yeah.
I was just going to add to Paul Heyman's promo here. Big E fears Roman Reigns, otherwise he would have not cashed in on Mondays. He would have cashed in on Roman Reigns. So he could have easily be like, what are you doing here, bro? You know?
No, I think the fact that Big E pulled up and stood right in his face shows that he's not scared of Roman Reigns.
If he wasn't scared, why did he go for that title? Just saying.
Never too soon to build to Survivor Series.
I can't wait.
Roman Reigns saying smart move. And this is great that they're building. What are we in September? And they're building towards a November match? I've never heard of such a thing in WWE. And I also like that Roman Reigns now has like his next three opponents pretty much set up with Brock Lesnar, the Demon, and Big E.
Yeah. I don't know about this. I just want to point out I want Big E to have a long title reign, and I would light some candles and do some spell work here. But Survivor Series, we are known to get the WWE champion to change like 2 days before Survivor Series. It happens multiple times. It happened last year. It happened with AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal. It happened with AJ Styles and Bryan. So I am not going to get too excited because this has happened to me too many times.
You know, I could see with them trying to do an economy of matches and maybe thinking it was big enough doing the Bloodline versus New Day. So put the tag belts on New Day with Big E, and then you have the Usos as tag team champions with Roman against them in Survivor Series.
Now they are doing Bloodline versus New Day on Raw as a response to them losing. I was wondering what are they going to have cooked up for Monday to try to break this unfavorable streak at 18-49. And this is at least the first big response they're doing is on Raw. They announced that they're going to do the Bloodline versus the New Day.
See, that seems too big for Raw.
And this is going to be a pattern. And I'm very nervous for WWE is going to like do all these self-inflicting wounds where they're just going to keep hot-shotting week after week after week. At this point, we might get 2 or 3 different WWE champions between now and the end of the NFL season, because the more that narrative is out there that, AEW and 18-49, I know for a fact they do not like losing to AEW, and they're going to keep trying to hotshot, and I do not think that's the answer.
When we get The Rock versus Roman on Monday, you know they're in trouble. When they're like,
USA Network pulled doves crashing their neck like, yo, you got some Roman Reigns to let us borrow for a night?
Come on, baby. Give me some.
Come on, please.
He's like, USA Network, you're sick. Go see somebody for that.
We gotta take him to rehab.
30 years ago, it would have been acceptable for me to bust into an impression of Samuel L. Jackson as Gator from Jungle Fever. Not acceptable. Not acceptable anymore.
Come on, you're Alfred tonight. You can do it.
Maybe DiCaprio in Basketball Diaries. Really though, but again, sensitivity. Should we make fun of addiction? See, I'm being that guy. That's the angel on my shoulder, being like, can't make fun of addiction anymore. Anyhow, way to bring it down, everyone.
Yeah,
let's go to the.
Let's go to my vibe, man.
Let's go to the Tony D'Angelo follower count, where Tony D'Angelo is up to 75 followers.
Okay.
Yes, go,
Tony. If you're watching this, we're not making fun of you. We want you to succeed. But Tony D'Angelo,
100 by the end of the podcast. Come on, guys, let's go.
Let's do it. Let's get that. This is the live audience. People, when you see this after this podcast goes live tomorrow, like he's gonna get that WINC bump. It's gonna be up there. So we have the Usos versus Finn Balor and Big E. Big E and Finn Balor getting the win. I mean, I didn't know I wanted this match. This was good, but this is just very random. Very
hated it. I hated it. I mean, I didn't hate the match. I hate the fact that not only are they an all-time tag team, like one of the best ever, but the idea that your tag team champions can be beat so decisively by a makeshift team that comes in. Like, I mean, there's a million different ways you could have gone about promoting these two guys kind of opposing Roman Reigns, and I just don't like the Usos, your tag team champions. It's chum bait. I don't.
Yeah, it did lead to that amazing super kick on Big E's face backstage, which the camera work on it was so impressive. Like, it took me by surprise. They did a good job with that, but I didn't like this match. I mean, there obviously you have amazing performers in the ring, but I didn't need it, and it didn't need to happen.
Rick Boogs versus Robert Roode.
Watch out for Rick Boogs, man! I'm telling you.
Dude, he's gonna dethrone Shinsuke when they're gonna have a one-on-one feud. It'd be epic.
Oh my god,
he's so over. I mean, and now the crowds are back. Like
you're right. The more I hear these stories about what they want, under 30, we want a bigger guys. I mean, Rick Boogs checks all these boxes.
It's like if Russell Simmons at Def Jam would have said, Chuck D, I know you got something to say, but the people pop for Flavor Flav. He should really be front and center on Public Enemy. What do you think? Probably going so well.
He is a Flavor Flav in this group. Rick Boogs 33 too, so that might be holding him back, but it seems like they're really going with this guy.
Look, whatever happens, we just need to make the IC title matter again. Like, it's been sitting in the backseat for so long, and I hate it. Like, when Shinsuke won it, I said, okay, maybe now we can really get something going. And the reason probably why it really triggers me is because we're going into Extreme Rules, and you could have a ladder match with so many talented guys that are on SmackDown going for that title. You have nothing going on for Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Cesaro, you have Baron Corbin, you have Shinsuke, you have Apollo. Like, you really could make this such a big feud, an important thing, and you're just letting him hang out in the background. So even if it goes to Boogs eventually, make it matter again. We're starting to build up a little bit. The US title on Raw, the IC title hasn't mattered in forever. It needs to go back to being important.
Weird that we went then from this attack after the match with Aziz and Cruz attacking, and then immediately go to this promo to build up Kevin Owens versus Happy Corbin. And then Kevin Owens, Baron Corbin, Happy Corbin attacks Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a match, and he wasn't even dressed to compete. He was in his street clothes, and he just attacked him. That's probably why he wasn't dressed to compete, so he beat him up.
We talked on Tuesday about Mandy's hair journey. Can we talk about Baron Corbin's in-ring gear journey? Because he always wrestles in the most uncomfortable looking clothes. Remember when he had the vest, the waiter vest, when he was the constable?
yeah.
Now he's out here wrestling in this. What's going on?
Wow.
I mean, speculation in recent weeks that Kevin Owens is going to be the next or one of the next to jump ship to AEW. Tonight didn't seem like they're high on Kevin Owens.
It made it seem more and more like that. So
yeah. We'll Seth Rollins came out to the ring, dressed like a baked potato.
No, this was his best outfit yet.
Really? You look stupid at him.
No, I love this outfit as much as I did the full leather one. That was my other favorite one.
Is he still in a feud with Edge after this?
Yes.
I mean, I'm just sick of him talking. I'm sick of Edge, and I'm sick of Seth talking about Edge and Edge talking about Seth. This is just boring at this point. This is just redundant. This is the same thing. I don't care for Seth's introspection. This feels to me like they're just keeping him running in place until he's ready to go in a program with Roman.
I will say this: I love their matches. I didn't like their promos, especially over the past month. I thought it was good. This particular, I did not like at all. You can't convince me this didn't last an hour. I didn't like how this was laid out. He was just going on and on and on. And I think Edge is out for a couple of months, and I just did not like whatever this was. There was nothing new. This is like when you get to the end of the report and you're just trying to hit 500 words. Yeah. That's the thing about democracy in America is it has roots in America's democratic process and
and how we come together to practice democracy as the United States of America democratically. How many words? Process.
You remember that like such as, remember Miss South Carolina and the beauty pageant? And she had that's what it reminded me of. Where she kept saying like such as and like such as.
Why doesn't he just end it with like, and that's why I hate Edge so very, 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 very much. Go to commercial.
Yeah, I thought this promo went on too long, and like Glenn says, sorry, they bring us excellent matches, but listen, I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. He's one of my favorites, but it feels like it's been a little while where you just put him in this never-ending feuds. He felt like he was in a feud with the Mysterios for like a year. Then he came back and feuded with Cesaro for like 6 months, and now he's gonna feud with Edge until Edge retires in 10 years. Like, I don't understand why we keep putting Seth in these programs. And then I love the match last week, and I do think they're going to have a rubber match just because they're 1-1. It leads to great matches, but we don't have to. Edge is not even here to respond. So did you really need Seth out there for that long? No.
Yeah, like, and we're going to talk about this, and Bear, we're going to definitely get to talking about Naomi and Sonia, but it's like Terry Allen Jr. saying 250 women are not receiving enough TV time. Why? Like, this was the night, man. Rollins could have done anything else tonight. Yeah. This was wasted time. This was a repeat. This was boring.
We didn't need any of this, and I don't think we're getting Seth and Edge anytime soon. The women's match they did have was literally a joke. They just, they went to a really wacky finish that they stole from NXT. So yeah, and the whole thing about the Zelena Vega not getting to compete on the 9/11 show is just, I mean, I couldn't. It's kind of egregious, and I don't want to be outraged about it or whatnot because they could do what they do with their TV time. But I just think at the very least they could have had this match that they kind of did a make good last week. There is time to do that too.
Yeah.
It's very odd, man. And then they did go into that women's match. We had Zelena Vega and Carmela versus Toni Storm and Liv Morgan, and Carmela got her nose broken. So her Marsha Brady moment.
Yeah. Dye your hair brown. It'll go away. Just dye your hair. And just like Mandy did.
I'm worried about Toni Storm because tonight when they were like to push on the 80s and the rock and roll, and I was like, oh, they're making her the female Dolph. Like, and we've seen them backstage. And yeah, I don't know, man. They've not.
Yeah, and they did this with the three women where they kind of branded they're like, coming up next, it's the 80s wild child, Toni Storm. It's the passionate Zelena Vega and the rambunctious Liv Morgan. It's just all this branding. It's like, just let these women wrestle and like lean into something else. And then, by the way, Toni Storm looked I don't know if it's just me, she looked in phenomenal shape. Like, I mean, yeah, she's always in good shape, but she looked like she's dropped at least like 10 to 15 pounds.
Oh, she looks great.
Yeah, she looked like she's like leaning up a little bit. Yeah. There's something that it has been bothering me, I guess, and it's because if you think about it, Zelena and Carmela, the reason why they're together is because they were gonna back up Sasha, and then Sasha disappears. We never get an explanation. They haven't even mentioned Sasha, and that bothers me as well. And now they're still together, but that was so short run that you don't even realize that that's why Carmela and Zelena are still hanging out. So, like, the whole thing, it just feels so convoluted, and they're like, yeah, but here they are, they're just gonna wrestle, and you're like, okay.
Glenn, and how did they introduce Zelena? What adjective did they use?
She's passionate.
She's the moment, too.
The moment.
Moment.
There you go. So, we had so much. Oh, yeah, let's talk about Finn Balor's promo backstage with the morphing to the demon. He doesn't summon the demon summons him.
Oh, so he's possessed.
Are you watching Evil on Paramount Plus yet, Issa?
No, I need to. I know. I need to.
I watch the show every week, and I'm like, Issa would be all over this shit because
I'm gonna start this weekend.
Spooky demonic Catholicism. Yeah, it's crazy. It's very good, but yeah, it's very much that thing like Batman is the real personality. Bruce Wayne is the mask. It's just like, okay, we get it. We get it. You're taking the thing and you're flipping it around. I understand. I was shocked to learn that he comes from a family of railroad workers. And why was he not the conductor? Why is he not shoveling coal and promos into an engine? Like, don't let Vince.
Because we have Braun Strowman for that. Come on.
That's true.
Come
Taking
on.
this train thunder.
Do you think there's more money in conductors or like railroad or sanitation?
Well, if you own the railroad.
Yeah. Glenn kind of has Alfred kind of has a conductor's hat.
It's true.
Yeah, he does.
Choo choo.
The big nasty express.
I'm glad you brought that up, Alfred, in terms of this is what stood out to me. Given where this promo went, that he just turned into this demon, the fact that his parents are railroad workers was so unnecessary to where he's being all relatable. And by the end of the promo, he turns into this demon where it's like, wait a minute. What Finn Balor are we going to like in this promo?
Finn Balor, the A+, we got one A+ Finn Balor promo segment. That was the one in NXT when he was in the white room and it had the morph effect and everyone's got a demon inside them and it had the heartbeat. Like, that was really cool. His thing that he did when he debuted on Raw and he was doing, let me tell you about Irish folklore and mythology. And it was like a weird, like, History Channel special. Like, they haven't gotten this right. Tonight was okay. It had moments, but man, he's not winning this match.
He sounded too human to be trying to explain the demon because before they went into the segment, they said Finn Balor is going to explain the demon. And now he's talking about being railroad and clawing his way. He wasn't supposed to be a wrestler. What does the demon have to do with that? What does this evil entity that takes over you have to do with that? And I also don't want them to go too freaky, like we are scary, because then it doesn't make sense either. But I feel like if Prince Balor was cutting that promo without morphing, then it will make more sense, right?
Yeah, 100%. He was cutting a human promo that ended up him turning into a demon. Like, it's just like if he was like, I love sports, love going to a ball game. We really went from 0 to 100 immediately.
I'm done. That's exactly what it was like too. I'm in tears.
I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Dominic Mysterio took on Sami Zayn, and man, I want to keep on the train of just saying why. But Dominic, they put on a pretty good match. There were some really fluid moments in this match. Dominic looked great. He needs to beat his father up. I cannot hammer this home enough.
We're getting to the point where this is beginning to be trolling. Like, we're past the point of what this should have been. Every week I see Rey Mysterio come and see his son's match. It's like, you're trolling us. Like, this is not moved in months.
I'm sorry.
At this point, I just want Rey to beat him, to like take off his belt and put him in his lap and like start like beating him up like you do. Listen, whatever. I thought the match was great. I don't like Dominic doing the 619. He's too long for it.
Yeah.
Oh, and what's
it works when they do the double 619, but when he does it by himself, it just looks awkward because he's so much longer. That's my opinion. I agree. I don't know how everybody. Okay.
And his should be changed the name. What's the other area code in San Diego? He should take that as his finishing move name to at least strike his own path and forge his own identity. But
the area code in El Paso, Texas, where Eddie Guerrero was born.
Oh,
yes. Yes. Viva la raza.
The problem also is commentary is trying too hard. Like, I almost need them to bring JBL back for this and just be like, he's just trying to do his dad proud, Maggle. Like, I just need someone that like really is phoning it in on this. Commentary is trying way too hard to sell us on this and make it investable. Naomi and Sonia Deville, are they going to have a match against one another?
So.
I mean, if they have the potential for it to be a big match, it could be a big pay-per-view match, it could be a big TV match. I like where they're going with this.
Bear Hudson $5 is saying, as a black man, the look Naomi gave to Sonia was
Oh,
you effed up. Every black man has had that look given to us before. Naomi squash Sonia, please.
That look, and at the end, that was for the culture. At the end, she did this thing, Naomi, she went, And it was that thing that aunties do when they're daring you to talk back to them after you've just gotten yelled at by an auntie or my mom or whatever, and they go, like, you better not say anything. That was for the culture. I love that.
I feel like my wife does that to me once a week.
Well, you're in the culture, Alfred, so I'd imagine that she would do that.
You know what it is? I think my wife grew up, her role model as a child was D on What's Happening. And I think that just explains everything of my wife's attitude. It all makes sense now.
I like what they did with Naomi. And let me tell you something, okay? This might be hard for some wrestling media to digest. Where they're going with the storyline, as far as I'm concerned, this is the second week that Sonia was talking to Karen and ignoring this black woman who's not being prioritized, and she stood up for herself. And then later on, right after she did, Michael Cole said, Naomi has been punished, and she's been punished for insubordination. This is a story of black women being villainized for standing up for themselves and trying to get to where they were as a product of a mother who rose to the top of her industry. She went to the exact same thing. And this is something that I think is a very unique, very subtle story that they're telling. And I absolutely love it. And I hope this is the direction that they go with this story.
This is almost, and kind of like we've talked about the larger issues with race and professional wrestling and AEW and talking about this with WWE. Like, I think about what I know of the powers that be at WWE, and we've talked about this in terms of black champions and how they're really pushing black wrestling and the culture and all of this. And as you just laid this out, this is like surprisingly, shockingly sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for the company.
Absolutely. And there is a black woman, at least one black woman writing for WWE. I know they fired the other one because of that Bobby Ashley incident, but I'd be willing to bet money that they at the very least consulted her. At most, she's probably writing this storyline. And I this is something that I'm 1,000% related to everything in this. I think they're doing a good job of telling the story of her. Yeah, just 1 second, I'm talking to Karen, and then she handles this. And I've seen all these, every wrestling fan, and it makes a good tweet to say that the bloodline needs to get involved in this. And I don't agree, okay? I've got my mom, aunties, cousins, whatever. I've never known a black woman to go hide behind her husband. And I don't think that's what Naomi should be doing. I think Naomi needs to handle her business in this scenario. We talked about Harriet Tubman. She didn't hide behind her husband. Beyonce doesn't hide behind Jay-Z. Naomi shouldn't hide behind Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso or Roman Reigns. I think she needs to handle this, and they need to slowly pluck that string of her being less prioritized. Maybe Sonia says something egregious. Maybe we get to meet Karen, who's on the phone, and they eventually have a match. That's the story that I want to see.
I like it. I'm not mad at that. I just want her. I do want her to beat the crap out of Sonia, though.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm here for it. Ultra Pac, $4.99. You think they ruined Extreme Rules with Balor and Reigns match by announcing Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel? Will the redraft improve ratings?
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think it's ruined. I think a lot of people are just overthinking it because the announcement that they made on social media says, "Will the Universal Championship be on the line?" It doesn't say the match is for the Universal Championship yet. So I do think advertising it for Crown Jewel, they still kept in mind the fact that Extreme Rules is in between it. A draft is desperately needed. I don't know what it will do for the ratings because I also fear for SmackDown because SmackDown flows a little bit nicely and switching things around could also hurt SmackDown. But a draft is desperately needed at this point. So hopefully it does help.
Absolutely. They definitely did shake things up.
Mm-hmm.
We did say Sami Zayn won that match. Earlier, the go-home segment tonight, Bianca Belair, homecoming. Talking about being back there, confronted by Becky Lynch, full heel.
1000%.
Yeah, Issa, what'd you think of this this promo segment?
I love that Bianca Belair is so wholesome. I love that Kane was out there. I love that they gave him a giant key. I don't understand why the key had to be so big. Her parents, everything about her is so relatable, so likable. She is literally the baby face that they've been needed for a long time because she doesn't need to try. She's just likable and lovable that way. I loved everything that Becky Lynch did as well. I thought Becky Lynch was excellent in this segment. I think they're putting out like the best work that both of them have done in a while because of the contrast, and I can see why Becky's working heel with Bianca because Bianca's such a baby face. Love the interaction. We'll see where it goes, but yeah, I just thought it was so wholesome. She got the whole crowd singing. It was nice that they gave her that moment before Becky interrupted and it turned into chaos like WWE typically does.
Yeah, and this was kind of a little bit of a passive-aggressive shot at AEW in terms of Tony Khan patted himself on the back. We let our heroes win in their hometown, and WWE said, "Oh yeah, okay, well we'll have a hometown celebration," and she's gonna get that ass whooped. So these are two companies doing different philosophies in terms of how wrestlers are booked in their hometown. I like the idea of kind of building a following through somebody's hometown and promoting them up. And to be fair, I think they did that with Bianca in terms of her going in there, being celebrated by this crowd, singing Rocky Top. But at the end of the day, WWE likes getting heat in people's hometown, and AEW likes building people up and celebrating, doing victory laps. I don't think one is wrong and isn't. I'm not, I'm not biased to it either. I think they're both effective ways in terms of getting a crowd reaction. One likes to make them boo. One likes to, kind of promote their superstars. And we'll see how this ties out in terms of helping Becky Lynch become a heel.
But to your point with the Bianca thing, while they still got heat at the end of the night, her homecoming didn't feel forced. This has been going on social media for days. She's been posting in her story. She went back to her school. So I do feel like in a way she did get a little bit of a coming home celebration outside of just the segment. They made a big deal about where they were and that she's from there and that it was awesome for her.
So hot ending. I mean, this is clearly, up there with... Actually, I think this is hotter than Roman and Finn, even for Extreme Rules.
Yeah, because they already fought. I think Bianca and Becky is something to look forward to because I want to see a real match from them. Mm-hmm. And they've been running them in the house shows, and I'm hearing that they have really good chemistry and they're putting on really good matches. So I cannot wait to really see them have a real match, so I can forget about that SummerSlam fiasco.
Well, there you go. So that was tonight. That was all the wrestling tonight.
Make sure you follow me at Glenn Rubenstein.
Well, I think really the message of this podcast is, you can follow all three of us, but you should really be following Tony D'Angelo, WWE, up now to 76 followers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
I'm going to get an email from Raj. Was Tony D'Angelo a guest on the podcast? Why do you have a lower third for Tony D'Angelo? And I go, Raj, the people know. The people know, what the hottest thing in sports entertainment is. So I'm out for 2 weeks, man. I'll be in a new void when you see me from the new house.
Finally.
That's great.
Yeah. So exciting for you.
It's going to be good. So much packing to do. I got to move all this hot sauce. We should have thought of this before I bought it all. I don't know, man. You guys have both moved a fair amount in your life, right?
Sure. Yeah. I moved last year, a couple of years ago.
So let me ask you both questions. Glenn, to you first. Are you the type of person that do you keep your archive, or are you more minimal and you just get rid of stuff when you're not using it, or do you just need to keep everything and preserve it?
No, I keep everything and preserve it. I'm not a hoarder per se, but I have a hard time throwing things away. I have a lot of stuff that I look at. I've got a whole closet full of stuff that it's I really should throw this stuff away, but I want it.
Yeah. Issa?
The last time I moved was to this apartment and I left everything behind and just bought new furniture. Wow. It was so easy.
It's not.
It was so easy.
And I think about that now as when I started the process. I should have just done a calculation of this says how much it's going to cost to move everything. It would be just easier just to get rid of it here, buy new stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I've got, 30 years of, just music stuff, old press clippings, VHS tapes, just all this stuff that, to your point, I don't want to get rid of it. I probably need to digitize it at some point. In the new place, I'm going to have space to digitize it all and finally go through it all. But for now, I just need to get it all into boxes, man.
Yeah.
That's the tough part.
It's very exciting. I mean, that is a tough part, but the exciting part of the move.
Yeah, we'll see. So you're all in good hands for the next 2 weeks. I'll be back then. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll catch you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Follow Tony D'Angelo, WWE. And I'll catch up with y'all in a bit. Take care.